There comes a moment in your life when you realize something powerful. You were never meant to squeeze yourself into places that do not see you, honor you, or make room for you. And the day you accept this truth is the day your life rises with a new strength, because you stop waiting for a seat at someone else's table and begin building your own. Stop fighting to belong in places too small for your spirit. There is a quiet heartbreak that comes from trying to shrink yourself just to be accepted. You bend your back, soften your voice, dim your light, and tell yourself, if I just try harder, they will see me, they will welcome me. But the truth is harsh and freeing at the same time. Some spaces are too small for who you are becoming, and no amount of squeezing or folding will make you fit without breaking something important inside you. You may try to ignore it at first. You try to stay loyal to rooms where you have outgrown the walls. You convince yourself that discomfort is normal, that silence is peaceful, and that being ignored is simply humility. But deep inside, your spirit knows. It knows when it's being suffocated. It knows when your presence is tolerated, not treasured. It knows when your gifts are taken for granted. And the more you try to force yourself into spaces that cannot hold your growth, the more drained, invisible, and restless you become. There comes a moment when you must stop pretending that small spaces are enough for a big soul. That moment usually comes quietly. It creeps up on you in the middle of a conversation where you suddenly realize you aren't being heard. It appears in the form of exhaustion after giving and giving only to receive indifference. It appears in your intuition, whispering that you were not made to fold into the corners of someone else's comfort zone. Many people stay where they don't belong because they fear the unknown more than they fear being unappreciated. They convince themselves that staying small is safer, that blending in is easier, that silence is more peaceful than the discomfort of change. But staying in a place that diminishes you does not keep you safe. It keeps you stuck. It keeps you from discovering the strength that rises only when you choose yourself over their approval. When you try to belong in places too small for your spirit, you begin to compromise in ways that eat away at your soul. You say yes when your heart screams no. You tolerate disrespect because you are afraid of being alone. You accept crumbs because you believe a full table might never come. But every time you lower your standards to stay in a place that cannot hold your greatness, you teach the world how little you value your own power. Your spirit was not designed to live in restriction. It is meant to stretch, to soar, to expand into every corner of your destiny. And the moment you honor that truth, the moment you stop fighting for space where your soul feels unwelcome, life begins to shift. You begin to breathe again. You begin to recognize your own value, not because someone else validates it, but because you finally validate it yourself. Imagine a plant placed in a pot too small. It tries to grow, but the roots circle inward, tangled and tight. It survives, but barely. It does not thrive. It does not bloom. Your spirit is the same. You may survive in small places, but you will not bloom there. You will not unfold into the fullness of who you are meant to be. You will not experience the joy of expansion. And deep inside, you know this. Growth requires space. Purpose requires space. Healing requires space. Becoming requires space. You cannot become who you are destined to be if you remain trapped in environments that resist your evolution. Those spaces were created for a version of you that no longer exists. You have grown spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and your soul has outgrown the limits that once felt comfortable. Stop apologizing for being too passionate, too deep, too ambitious, too loving, or too much of anything. You are not too much. They were simply too little for the weight of your truth. Your dreams were too large for their imagination. Your vision was too clear for their blurred perspective. Your heart was too open for their closed minds. You are not wrong. You are simply rising beyond what they can understand. When you begin to honor yourself, you stop forcing relationships, friendships, careers, or environments that drain you. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop chasing validation. You stop breaking yourself into fragments just so others can swallow you easily. You stop walking into rooms hoping they will see your worth. And instead, you walk away from any room that doesn't. It is not your job to convince anyone of your value. It is not your responsibility to remain where you are unappreciated. It is not your duty to stay small so others feel comfortable. Life is too brief and your mission is too important to waste another moment fighting for a space that cannot hold your magnitude. There is a bigger world waiting for you. A world that aligns with your spirit, your purpose, and your greatness. It is a place where your voice is heard without you having to raise it, where your presence is felt without you having to shrink, where your gifts are welcomed, not feared, and where your growth is celebrated, not resented. But you can only reach that world when you stop clinging to the small one. Let go of what's limiting you. Release what's draining you. Walk away from what belittles you. Turn your back on anything that forces you to war with your own spirit. You deserve to stand in spaces where your soul can stretch freely, where your dreams can breathe, and where your heart can finally feel at home. Stop fighting to belong in places too small for your spirit. Your wings were not made for cages. Your voice was not made for silence. And your soul was not made to walk around pretending to be less than the miracle it truly is. Your expansion awaits. Your worth does not require anyone's permission or acceptance. This truth is simple, yet most people spend years, sometimes their entire lives, trying to earn validation from others. You grow up taught to measure yourself through someone else's eyes. You learn to seek approval from parents, teachers, friends, partners, society. You learn to wait for someone to nod, to applaud, to agree before you finally allow yourself to feel enough. But your worth was never built on their opinions, and it will never crumble under their rejection. It is something sacred, untouched, and unchangeable within you. From the moment you entered this world, you had value. Not because someone said so, not because someone approved of you, but because you exist with your own light, your own voice, your own purpose. You were designed with intention, and that alone makes you worthy. But somewhere along the way, life teaches you to doubt this truth. It teaches you to compare, to compete, to fear judgment, to seek acceptance like it's a fuel you cannot survive without. You end up giving strangers the power to define you, even though they do not even fully understand themselves. If you spend your life waiting for permission to feel worthy, you will spend your life waiting. People are inconsistent. One day they praise you, the next they question you. One moment they applaud your courage, the next they criticize your choices. If your worth is tethered to their ever-shifting opinions, you will feel unstable, insecure, and unsure of who you truly are. But when you anchor your worth in something deeper, your spirit, your integrity, your truth, you become untouchable. You do not need permission to dream. You do not need acceptance to rise. You do not need applause to grow into the person you were meant to be. The world may not always understand your vision, but that does not weaken it. The world may not always accept your journey, but that does not invalidate it. You were not created to live according to someone else's comfort. You were not born to shrink for someone else's insecurities. You do not need anyone to tell you that you matter. You already do. Every time you wait for someone to validate you, you hand them the keys to your joy. You give them control over your confidence, your identity, your peace. And when they withhold approval, you feel small. When they misunderstand you, you feel lost. When they reject you, you doubt yourself. But the moment you stop offering people that power, you begin to rise in a way that feels like breathing for the first time. Think about the times you held yourself back because you feared what others might say. Think about the dreams you delayed because you didn't want to be judged. Think about the versions of yourself you buried because you were scared they wouldn't be accepted. All those moments were not reflections of your weakness, they were reflections of your conditioning. You had been taught to believe that your worth depends on how well you impress others, but you can unlearn that belief. You can set yourself free. Your worth is not a performance. It is not a popularity contest. It is not a vote. It does not rise and fall with people's opinions. It does not depend on how many people like you, follow you, praise you, or applaud you. Your worth is built into you. It is the breath in your lungs, the fire in your heart, the truth in your soul. You may have people in your life who overlook you, who fail to see your beauty, who underestimate your strength. But their blindness does not diminish your brilliance. Their silence does not weaken your voice. Their rejection does not erase your value. You do not need their permission to be extraordinary. You do not need their acceptance to grow, evolve, and shine. Some people will never understand your journey because they have never walked your path. They have not felt your battles, your healing, your victories. They have not carried your pain or your dreams. How could they possibly determine your worth when they do not know the depths of your soul? Let them misunderstand. Let them underestimate. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Their opinions are reflections of their limitations, not your potential. The moment you stop seeking external approval is the moment your life changes. You start to show up differently. You start to speak your truth without fear. You start to pursue your goals without hesitation. You start to love yourself without apology. You no longer need someone to tell you that you are good enough. You already know. When you embrace your intrinsic worth, you become whole again. You stop chasing people who do not value you. You stop begging for attention. You stop tying your happiness to who stays or leaves. You stop trying to prove yourself to anyone. Instead, you begin to honor yourself. You protect your peace. You set boundaries. You choose your own voice over their opinions. You walk with a quiet confidence that does not need to be shouted. It simply exists, and people notice. Not because you are louder, but because you are stronger. Not because you are seeking attention, but because you finally stop seeking approval. When you know your worth, you become magnetic. You attract healthier relationships. You attract opportunities aligned with your purpose. You attract respect because you radiate self-respect. You attract peace because you refuse to settle for anything that disrupts it. Your worth is not earned. It is recognized from within. And once you recognize it, no one can take it from you. Not the people who doubted you, not the ones who walked away, not the ones who spoke against you, not the ones who tried to belittle you. Their opinions have no authority over your identity. Stop waiting for someone to declare you enough. You are already enough. Stop looking for someone to choose you. Choose yourself. Stop searching for acceptance from people who cannot even accept themselves. Your worth does not require their permission, and it never will. If others cannot see your light, it does not dim that light. It reveals their blindness. There is a quiet, powerful truth in those words, a truth that frees you from the exhausting habit of questioning your own brilliance just because someone else fails to recognize it. Too often, people dim their own glow because they've been surrounded by eyes that refuse to see, minds that refuse to understand, and hearts that cannot appreciate what stands right in front of them. But the inability of others to witness your shine is not a reflection of your value. It is a reflection of their limitations. Light does not argue with darkness. It simply exists. It does not shrink because someone closes their eyes. It does not apologize because someone turns away. Your spirit, your gifts, your essence, they are made of their own energy. No one has the power to erase what was placed in you, because what you carry is internal, eternal, and uniquely yours. If a person refuses to see your worth, it does not make you worthless. It simply means they lack the vision to perceive what is real. There will be people in your life who overlook you not because you lack anything, but because they are too consumed with their own insecurities to acknowledge the greatness in someone else. Some people will ignore your strengths because your strengths remind them of their weaknesses. Some will downplay your achievements because your success highlights their stagnation. Some will pretend not to notice your growth because acknowledging it would force them to confront their own refusal to grow. You must understand that their blindness is not your burden to carry. The world is full of individuals whose eyes are clouded by jealousy, fear, ego, or ignorance. They look at you through fogged lenses and then try to convince you that you are unclear. They fail to see your glow and then question its existence. But their inability to perceive your light is not evidence of its absence. A star is still a star even when the sky is full of clouds. The sun still burns even when the night hides it. Your glow does not rely on being seen. It relies on being true. Do not contort yourself trying to be visible to those who are committed to not seeing you. Some people remain blind because it is easier for them to stay comfortable in their shadows than to acknowledge the brilliance of someone standing in their truth. If you keep trying to force recognition from people who refuse to understand you, you will exhaust yourself. You will shrink yourself. You will dim your own flame trying to fit into their field of vision, when the truth is their field is too narrow for someone like you. There's a dangerous habit many develop, the habit of measuring their worth through the eyes of others. If someone praises them, they feel valuable. If someone criticizes them, they question their identity. If someone ignores them, they feel invisible. But your worth must come from within, not from external mirrors that distort your reflection. People can only see from the level of their perception. If their perception is limited, their recognition will be limited too. Some of the brightest souls in history were misunderstood in their time. Their ideas were mocked, their voices dismissed, their light ignored. But the blindness of society did not diminish their brilliance. It merely delayed its acknowledgement. You cannot expect everyone to understand your path when they have not walked your steps. You cannot expect everyone to value you when they have not evolved enough to appreciate depth, sincerity, or authenticity. Not everyone has the emotional maturity, spiritual sensitivity, or intellectual openness to recognize true light. Some people are drawn only to noise, drama, and superficiality. Your quiet glow confuses them. Your peace threatens them. Your purpose intimidates them. And instead of rising to meet your energy, they choose to deny it. But their denial cannot undo your truth. Your light was not given to you to convince others of its presence. It was given to you to guide your own path, to warm your own heart, to illuminate your own journey. If someone chooses not to see you, let them walk in their darkness while you continue to shine. Do not dim yourself to comfort their blindness. Do not hide yourself to make them feel secure. Do not shrink your greatness to fit into their limited understanding. There will come a time when people who ignored you will wish they had paid attention. There will be moments when those who doubted you will be confronted with the undeniable reality of your glow. But you must not live for their awakening. Live for your becoming. Live for the truth that pulses inside you. Live for the voice that whispers, "You were made to shine." The right eyes will see you without being instructed. The right hearts will recognize your value without explanation. The right souls will feel your light even from a distance. Those who are meant for you will not need convincing. They will simply understand, and that understanding will feel effortless, peaceful, natural. Your job is not to make the blind see. Your job is to keep shining regardless of who notices. Shine in silence. Shine in growth. Shine in pain. Shine in joy. Shine even when no one claps for you. Shine when you are doubted. Shine when you are misunderstood. Shine when you are underestimated. Shine because it is who you are, not because of who is watching. When someone fails to acknowledge your greatness, repeat this gently to your spirit. Their blindness is not my truth. When someone overlooks your strength, remind yourself, my light is still burning. When someone treats you as if you are ordinary, tell your soul, I know what I carry. Your light is not fragile. It does not depend on visibility. It depends on authenticity. And as long as you continue to live in your truth, no amount of blindness in others can dim the fire within you. Shine, even if only you can see it for now. The world eventually catches up, but your soul needs your glow today. Creating your own space is an act of strength, not rebellion. It is one of the most courageous decisions a person can make because it requires you to break free from the expectations, limitations, and assumptions that others place on you. People often misunderstand the idea of carving out your own place in the world. They assume it means you are being defiant, dramatic, or difficult. They think you are rejecting them or challenging their authority. But the truth is far deeper and far more powerful. Creating your own space is an affirmation of your worth, your growth, and your truth. It is not a protest against the world. It is a declaration of your existence. There will come a time in your life when you realize that the environments you once thought you needed no longer hold the capacity to support your evolution. You step into rooms that once felt comfortable, and suddenly the air feels too tight, the expectations too suffocating, the limitations too loud. You try to stretch, to expand, to grow, but you can feel the invisible walls pressing against you. That is when you recognize you have outgrown that version of yourself, and by extension, the spaces that version once tolerated. It is not rebellion to walk away from those spaces. It is wisdom. Creating your own space means choosing not to settle for what is handed to you. It means refusing to shape your life around the comfort of others while suffocating the truth inside your own soul. This is strength, the kind of strength that demands clarity, honesty, and bravery. You must first acknowledge that the space you are in is no longer meant for you. And that alone is a powerful act, because most people spend years forcing themselves to belong where their spirit is quietly begging them to leave. People often stay in limiting environments out of loyalty, habit, or fear. They fear being judged for stepping away. They fear disappointing others. They fear loneliness. They fear the unknown. But strength is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move despite fear. It is honoring the whisper inside you that says, there is more for you than this. It is giving yourself permission to seek alignment instead of acceptance. When you create your own space, you are not rebelling against people. You are rising into your own becoming. You are giving yourself room to breathe, to grow, to dream without interruption. You are allowing your purpose to unfold without the noise of opinions or the weight of expectations. You are choosing to live in truth instead of convenience. There is a beauty in building something from within, something that reflects your voice, your values, your vision. You are not running away from the world. You are reshaping your place within it. You are planting seeds where others only saw empty ground. You are crafting a life that feels like home, not one you endure just to keep others comfortable. Strength is not loud. It does not always roar. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and firm. Sometimes it looks like walking away without explanation. Sometimes it looks like choosing solitude over company that drains you. Sometimes it looks like saying no, even when people expect you to say yes. Sometimes it looks like starting over from nothing but your own faith. But every time you choose yourself, you reinforce the truth that creating your own space is an act of courage, not rebellion. People who feel threatened by your growth may interpret your independence as defiance. They may call you ungrateful, difficult, or dramatic. But their labels are simply projections of their discomfort. When you create your own space, you reveal the truth about relationships that were conditional. You expose the dynamics that only worked when you were small, silent, or dependent. And when you rise, some people will see your rising as an attack, not because you harm them, but because your growth forces them to confront their own limitations. You cannot shrink yourself just to keep others comfortable. You cannot dim your ambition because someone else is afraid of their own untapped potential. You cannot silence your truth because someone else prefers the lie. Creating your own space is not betrayal. Betrayal is abandoning yourself to please others. Strength is choosing to honor your journey even if others fail to understand it. When you begin to build your own space, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, or physically, you reclaim your power. You stop being swayed by noise. You stop seeking permission. You stop questioning your worth. Your decisions become clearer. Your boundaries become stronger. Your vision becomes sharper. You begin to realize that what you thought you needed from others was actually something you needed to give yourself. Validation, permission, acceptance, love. Your space becomes a sanctuary, a reflection of your true self. It becomes a place where you can rest without judgment, grow without restriction, and dream without apology. It becomes the ground on which your future stands. And from that place, you begin to attract the right people, the right opportunities, the right energy, not because you chased them, but because you aligned with them. Strength also means embracing the loneliness that sometimes comes with building your own space. Not everyone will walk with you. Not everyone will understand what you're doing. Not everyone is meant to join you in the next chapter. Some people belong to a version of you that no longer exists. And letting them go is not rebellion. It is release. You cannot carry everyone with you into the life you are growing toward. There is a deep peace that comes when you stop apologizing for your growth. You stop explaining why you need boundaries. You stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. You stop trying to convince people that you are worthy of taking up space. Instead, you simply take it. You stand tall in the truth that you belong, not because someone grants you permission, but because you exist with purpose. Creating your own space is not about proving anything. It is not about showing anyone what they lost or teaching someone a lesson. It is about giving yourself the environment you need to flourish. It is about knowing that your soul deserves expansion. It is about respecting your own evolution enough to build a life that reflects it. Strength is saying, I am allowed to grow. Strength is saying, I am allowed to choose myself. Strength is saying, I do not need your approval to live my truth. Strength is saying, I can build what I cannot find. Strength is trusting yourself even when the world doubts you. When you step into your own space, you step into your power. You step into clarity. You step into authenticity. And once you stand there rooted and whole, the world can no longer control you with rejection or silence or misunderstanding. You realize that you were never meant to fit into the mold they built. You were meant to create a world shaped by your own hands. You are not rebelling. You are reclaiming. You are remembering who you are. You are rising into who you were always meant to be. You attract the right people when you choose yourself instead of chasing validation. This is a truth most people learn only after years of exhaustion, after giving too much, bending too far, and abandoning themselves for the sake of being liked, wanted, or accepted. The moment you stop living for approval is the moment your entire reality begins to shift, because the energy you once poured into chasing others finally returns home. It fills your spirit. It strengthens your identity. And that shift changes the kind of people, relationships, and opportunities that enter your life. Most people do not realize how much of their identity is shaped by the desire to be validated. From childhood, you are taught to seek gold stars, recognition, praise, and applause. As you grow older, that need transforms into wanting acceptance from friends, love from partners, approval from family, and affirmation from society. You begin to act, speak, and make decisions not from your own truth, but from what you think will make others approve of you. But here's the painful part. Validation is a moving target. You can chase it your entire life and still never feel whole. When you chase validation, you attract people who are drawn to your weakness instead of your authenticity. You attract people who benefit from your self-sacrifice, not those who honor your soul. You attract individuals who are comfortable with you being small, agreeable, and dependent. And the moment you rise, set boundaries, or demand respect, those same people pull away because they were never connected to your truth. They were connected to your need for approval. Choosing yourself is where everything changes. Choosing yourself means deciding that your peace is more important than pleasing others. It means that your worth is not determined by external applause. It means you no longer allow people to walk in and out of your life based on how convenient it is for them. It means you stop performing for affection and start living in alignment with your purpose. And when your energy shifts, your relationships shift. You begin to see who was only around because you were easy to manipulate or easy to please. You start recognizing which connections were genuine and which were rooted in your insecurity. Choosing yourself reveals the people who were only comfortable when you were abandoning your own needs to satisfy theirs. But just as some people fall away, new people begin to appear, people who feel like fresh air. These are the ones who understand emotional depth, the ones who respect boundaries, the ones who see you clearly because they too choose themselves, the ones who do not require you to shrink, to chase, or to perform. But you cannot attract these people when you are still anchored to the habit of seeking validation from the wrong ones. When you choose yourself, you become magnetic. Not because you are trying to impress anyone, but because authenticity always draws the right energy. Confidence rooted in self-awareness becomes a quiet glow around you. People can feel it. They can sense the difference between someone who needs to be chosen and someone who chooses themselves. And that difference is everything. People who value honesty are drawn to the clarity you radiate. People who value kindness are drawn to the warmth you carry. People who value respect are drawn to the boundaries you honor. People who value growth are drawn to the evolution you embody. Choosing yourself filters your life. It clears out the noise. It removes the superficial. It separates the temporary from the timeless. But choosing yourself is not always easy. You will feel misunderstood. You will lose people you cared for. You will face moments of loneliness. You will question whether you're doing the right thing. You will feel the pull of old habits, the desire to go back and chase the very validation you walked away from. But growth requires discomfort, and self-worth requires consistency. Choosing yourself is a discipline, a devotion, a promise you make to your own spirit. Slowly, your energy begins to shift. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop apologizing for your standards. You stop begging to be chosen. You stop forcing connections. You stop entertaining people who drain you. You stop giving access to those who don't deserve proximity to your heart. You stop molding yourself into whatever shape makes others comfortable. And as this happens, you become clearer, stronger, softer in the right ways, and firmer in the right places. When you choose yourself, you create a new energetic frequency, a frequency that carries integrity, peace, self-respect, and emotional maturity. People who resonate with that frequency find you without effort. They enter your life naturally, organically, without force. The right people bring ease. They bring clarity. They meet you where you are instead of asking you to shrink. They are drawn to your truth, not the mask you once wore. They love your presence, not your performance. Relationships become more honest, more stable, more nurturing because they are built on alignment rather than approval. The right people stay when life gets hard. They celebrate your growth. They honor your boundaries. They value your voice. They do not fear your strength. But again, you cannot attract these souls while you are busy chasing the wrong ones. Choosing yourself is the gateway. Because when you choose yourself, you create a higher standard for your life. And the right people are drawn to people with standards. Not because you are demanding, but because you know what peace feels like now. You know what authenticity feels like. You know what it feels like to no longer beg for what should be given freely. This is the shift. When you choose yourself, you stop handing out discounts on your energy. You stop lowering your worth for temporary attention. You stop bending your values for shallow connections. You stop participating in your own disrespect. And that is when real love, real friendship, real opportunities start to find you. You attract people who want to grow with you, not compete with you. People who see your light, not your usefulness. People who stay by choice, not by convenience. People who value your presence, not your compliance. Validation is fleeting, but alignment is life-changing. When you chase validation, you lose yourself. When you choose yourself, you find your people. People who love you as you are. People who understand you without effort. People who honor your heart. People who match your energy. And none of that comes from begging, proving, pleasing, or performing. It comes from choosing yourself again and again until the world around you reflects that choice. What you build from your soul carries a power that no circumstance can weaken and no person can take away. When something is born from authenticity, from that quiet fire within you, it becomes more than a goal. It becomes a living truth, and truths rooted in the soul do not collapse. They do not bend under pressure, nor do they fear the storms that make lesser things crumble. When you build from the soul, you're not constructing for applause, validation, or attention. You're building because something inside you refuses to stay quiet. Something inside you knows you were meant for more than imitation, more than pleasing, more than shrinking to fit into spaces that dishonor who you are. The world often celebrates what is loud, flashy, and packaged for approval. But the things that last, the things that echo long after you're gone, come from a deeper place. They are shaped in silence, refined in solitude, and strengthened through trials. When your work, your path, your identity comes from your soul, you no longer fear who supports you or who ignores you. You rise above the noise. You become anchored in purpose, not praise. That kind of foundation cannot be shaken by someone's opinion or absence. It grows from a source no one else can touch. Many people build their lives on fragile ground, the acceptance of others, the need to be liked, the desire to impress. But approval shifts like sand. One moment it is beneath your feet, and the next it is gone without warning. If you build your worth on such foundations, you will spend your life chasing stability you will never find. Yet when you build from your soul, from wisdom, authenticity, courage, you stand on bedrock. Even in seasons of doubt, your foundation remains. Even when people misunderstand you, the truth you built remains. You become unshakable because your center is unshakable. Building from the soul means honoring your inner voice even when others can't hear it. It means following paths that make sense only to you, trusting your intuition even when others question it. The soul does not need permission to grow. It does not need applause to feel worthy. It does not need a crowd to validate its direction. It simply knows. And when you align your actions with that knowing, everything you create becomes infused with a strength that cannot be copied or stolen. No one can take from you what they did not give you. No one can break what was built from the sacred parts of your being. You become dangerous in the most beautiful way when your confidence comes from within instead of from the shifting behaviors of people around you. You stop fearing rejection because rejection can't touch something that wasn't built to please others. You stop fearing loss because what was meant for you cannot be threatened by anyone. You stop fearing opinions because opinions cannot rewrite truth. When your life is shaped from your soul, you no longer move like someone who is afraid. You move like someone who knows their worth, knows their direction, knows their purpose. This inner-built strength doesn't show up all at once. It grows quietly. It grows in the moments when you choose honesty over acceptance, when you choose growth over comfort, when you choose truth over popularity. Each choice adds another layer to the structure of your life, and layer by layer, you become unbreakable. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become deeper. You become wiser. You become rooted in something larger than the world's opinions. Your soul becomes the architect, and your actions become the bricks of a life you can stand firmly within. Think of the trees that survive the strongest storms. They are not the ones that grow the fastest or appear the tallest. They are the ones with roots deep enough to anchor them when the winds roar. Your soul is those roots. Anything built from that depth cannot be uprooted. It can bend, but it will not break. It can sway, but it will not fall. And even after the storm passes, it will still be standing, stronger, wiser, more grounded. People may try to undermine you, misunderstand you, or minimize what you are building. But remember, their perception does not change the truth of what you are becoming. The soul-built life does not require external validation because it knows its own value. It knows its own origin. It knows its own destiny. When you are anchored within, the surface-level judgments of others slide off you like water because they were never meant for you in the first place. Their misunderstanding is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their limits. Your soul is deeper than their vision. What you build from your soul is also untouchable because it belongs to you alone. People can admire it, criticize it, ignore it, or attempt to imitate it, but they cannot possess it. They cannot alter it. They cannot define it. This is the freedom that comes from living a life aligned with your inner truth. Everything you create becomes a reflection of who you truly are, not who the world expected you to be. And when your life becomes an expression of authenticity, it becomes sacred. Sacred things are not shaken by external forces. There will be moments when the world pushes against you, when doubt whispers loudly, when fear tries to pull you away from your path. But when your work is soul-built, fear cannot dismantle it. Doubt cannot dissolve it. Criticism cannot corrupt it. Because this kind of creation is not held together by ego, it is held together by truth. And truth does not fall apart. It evolves, it strengthens, it deepens, but it does not collapse. There is a quiet confidence that rises when you trust what is inside you. You begin to realize that everything you need to build a meaningful life was already given to you. You do not need to chase anything outside yourself. You need only to listen, to trust, to act. The soul's voice is gentle but unwavering. It guides you towards spaces where you can grow, relationships where you can be seen, opportunities that align with your purpose. And as you follow that guidance, your life becomes a testament to what is possible when you honor who you truly are. What you build from your soul becomes your legacy. It is what remains long after the noise fades and the world moves on. It is the imprint of your truth, your courage, and your authenticity on the lives you touch and the world you inhabit. These are the things that endure. These are the things that matter. And these are the things no one can ever take away. So continue building from that deep place within you. Continue trusting your inner wisdom. Continue honoring your truth even when others cannot understand it. Because the life you create from your soul will stand unshakable, untouchable, and fully your own. Your destiny expands the moment you stop waiting to be chosen and begin choosing yourself. There is a shift, quiet but powerful, that happens when you no longer sit in the shadows, hoping someone will notice your worth, validate your dreams, or open doors for you. Instead, you rise, you step forward, and you claim the space your spirit has been whispering about for years. The moment you choose yourself is the moment your life stops being controlled by chance and starts being shaped by intention. It is the moment you move from hoping to becoming, from waiting to creating, from silence to self-ownership. For far too long, many people live like guests in their own lives, waiting for someone else to hand them purpose, permission, or possibility. They wait for approval from a parent who never understood, from friends who never saw them clearly, or from a world too distracted to recognize their brilliance. But destiny does not unfold for those who sit quietly, hoping to be picked. Destiny responds to movement, to courage, to the decision to believe in oneself, even when no one else does. When you finally say, "I choose me," life begins to open in directions you never imagined. Choosing yourself is not an act of arrogance. It is an act of awakening. It means you understand that your worth is not up for negotiation. It means you realize that you are not required to shrink, bend, or beg to be seen. Too many people dim their light waiting for acceptance, believing their brilliance will be too much for others. But the truth is simple. Those who are threatened by your light will never celebrate your rise, and those who are inspired by it will never ask you to dim it. When you stop waiting to be chosen, you free yourself from the exhausting performance of trying to fit into spaces that were never meant to hold you. When you choose yourself, you stop outsourcing your confidence. You no longer rely on applause to feel valuable or on validation to feel capable. You become your own source. You become grounded in an inner knowing that does not waver when people change, disappear, or fail to understand you. You no longer crumble when someone rejects you because you know rejection cannot break what you built from self-belief. Choosing yourself fortifies your spirit. It draws a line between who you were, uncertain, hesitant, waiting, and who you are becoming, strong, decisive, self-led. And with that inner shift, your destiny begins to stretch beyond the boundaries you once believed were fixed. New ideas emerge, new paths reveal themselves, doors appear where walls once stood. Opportunities start to find you not because the world suddenly changed, but because you changed your posture within it. You no longer move with the energy of someone seeking permission. You move with the energy of someone who knows they belong. Confidence becomes a magnet. Clarity becomes a guide. Purpose becomes the compass that replaces fear. Choosing yourself also means honoring the dreams that once felt too big. Dreams you buried because others told you they were unrealistic. Dreams you delayed because you didn't think you were ready. Dreams you abandoned because you were afraid to fail publicly. But when you choose yourself, you breathe life back into those visions. You begin taking steps, small at first, then bolder, toward the future you once only imagined. And with each step, your destiny expands, not because the path becomes easier, but because you become braver. Life responds differently to those who choose themselves. The world tends to rise for people who refuse to shrink. When you stop waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and tell you it's your turn, you realize it was always your turn. You were always capable. You were always gifted. You were always worthy. The only thing missing was your decision to step forward without needing applause, without needing approval, without needing a guarantee. You stop living like someone hoping to be discovered and start living like someone determined to be realized. There will always be people who doubt you, misunderstand you, or underestimate what you carry. That is not your concern. You are not here to convince the world of your greatness. You are here to embody it. You are here to honor what has been placed within you. You are here to create a life that reflects your truth, not the limitations others project onto you. Choosing yourself means releasing the weight of other people's expectations, opinions, and fears. It means realizing that your life belongs to you, not to those who want to mold it, limit it, or control it. You will find that choosing yourself changes your relationships, your environment, and your direction. People who only supported you when you stayed small will become uncomfortable. People who relied on your self-doubt to feel secure will distance themselves. People who loved your indecision will resent your clarity, but those who belong in your life will celebrate your growth. They will cheer for your becoming. They will support the strength you are stepping into. Choosing yourself filters your world in ways that protect your spirit and elevate your path. As you continue walking this journey of self-choice, you will notice something extraordinary. You no longer feel desperate for opportunities because you are too busy creating your own. You no longer fear losing people because you know real connections cannot be lost. You no longer settle for crumbs because you know you deserve abundance. You no longer hide your gifts because you understand they were meant to be seen, not stored away in fear. Your destiny expands because you expand. You stop living inside the narrow walls of who you were told to be and step into the wide open sky of who you truly are. You claim your voice. You reclaim your power. You rise into your purpose. And once you rise, you realize there was never anything to wait for. You were always the one you were waiting on. The moment you choose yourself is the moment everything changes. It is the moment your life begins to align with your truth. It is the moment your destiny stops being a distant dream and becomes an unfolding reality. And that reality grows bigger, brighter, and bolder with every step you take in the direction of your own becoming. Do not waste your power struggling for a corner in someone else's story. You were born to write chapters, not beg for sentences. When you stop fighting for space and decide to create your own, life shifts. Doors open and your voice finally echoes where it was always meant to be. Step forward with courage. Your space is waiting for you to claim it.